5 ways a budget will change your life. And as a hint, these are all good things that will make you happy. I'm Mark Palmer, ex-financial professional, here to help you build wealth. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at MarkPWealth. As always, this is not financial advice. It's purely financial education. If you would like advice specific to you, seek out a financial advisor. Let's quickly touch on what a budget is and how to make one. As we're doing that, please smash that like button and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me and it's easy for you to do, so thank you. A budget is a tracking system of how much money you make, how much money you estimate you'll spend, and how much money you actually spend. This information helps you figure out exactly how much money you should spend on each expense in your life. You can create categories for spending and allocate a certain dollar amount to each category each month. Once you have a budget in place, you simply live your life and learn about your spending habits and where you have room to improve. There are many different ways to keep a budget. The old-fashioned way is to use pen and paper and physically write out each of your expenses each month. A more modern way is to do the same thing but on your phone or your computer. You can use applications like Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets to do this. I use Google Sheets, and a great perk of that is you can share it with another person. So my fiance and I, we share a Google Sheet budget, and we're both able to just pull it up on our phones or computers and make modifications to that budget on our own. Another option is many financial companies offer free online budgeting tools. Check with your bank or financial institution if you'd like to see if they offer one. Otherwise, you could download an app such as Mint to get started with this. The two main features of a budget are income and expenses. Income is pretty straightforward. Whatever money you make and whatever money comes into your account each month, that's your income. Expenses can be broken down into many different categories, but the two main important categories are fixed expenses and variable expenses. Fixed expenses are expenses that you incur each month and that do not change from month to month. For example, your rent or your mortgage payment is likely a fixed expense because you'll be paying the same amount for it this month as you will next month. Car payments, insurance, and Netflix are other examples of fixed expenses you may have. Variable expenses are expenses that you incur each month but are much harder to predict how much money these will be. These expenses fluctuate from month to month. Some examples are groceries, dining out, and entertainment. If you're creating a budget from scratch, start by writing your income at the top. From there, write down all your fixed expenses below your income. If you need help figuring out what your fixed expenses are, take a look at your credit card or bank statement. You should be able to see expenses that stay the same and that are charged every single month to you. Total up these fixed expenses and subtract that number from your income. What is remaining is how much you have available for your variable expenses. This isn't to say that you can't change your fixed expenses, but that would require you to act on these expenses, such as canceling a subscription or moving to a cheaper residence. Next, write down all of your variable expenses. Now, you won't know exactly how much you're going to spend on these, but you can do a rough ballpark estimate for it. Again, taking a look at your bank or credit card statement from prior months can help you out with this estimate. Make sure to include a miscellaneous or similar category in your budget because there are always going to be those unexpected expenses that are hard to categorize. A recent miscellaneous expense that I had was renewing my driver's license. That was a $48 cost that doesn't really go into entertainment or dining out or home or any categories like that. So I put it in miscellaneous and I'm good to go. Next, total up all of your expenses, both variable and fixed expenses, and compare it to your income. You should have less expenses than you have income. If you do, great. If you have more expenses than your income, well, you don't have enough money to pay for your lifestyle. If that's the case, you're going to have to make some changes and sacrifices, and it's good that you've made this budget now so you can start making these changes before you go into too much debt. One thing worth considering is putting savings buckets into your fixed expenses. I have a few of these savings buckets in my fixed expenses myself. I have home improvement savings, travel savings, retirement savings, and my fiance and I are getting married later this year. That's not cheap. We have a wedding savings bucket as well. If you don't currently have an emergency fund already saved up, it's smart to also have emergency savings in your fixed expenses. After you have all of your expenses totaled up to an amount equal to or less than your income, you have now completed a rough draft of your budget. Now, your budget will not be an exact forecast of your spending. It's more of a guideline. For example, you might budget $500 per month for groceries. However, you could end up spending $540 per month on groceries. Then you'll know that that should be your amount going forward if you're consistently spending $540 instead of $500. And you'll know that you need to find $40 more to put towards your grocery budget and take away from somewhere else in your budget. On the flip side, if you allocate $500 towards groceries each month, but you're only spending $450 on groceries each month, you'll know that you have an extra $50 that you can allocate to other parts of your budget. This is just one of the many benefits of using a budget. Having an allocated dollar amount towards a certain category of expenses allows you to spend up to that amount confidently, and if you spend less, you know that you can spend a little bit more elsewhere if you need to, and if you spend more, you know that you have to take away from other categories. Again, this budget is simply a rough draft, and it kind of will always be a rough draft because your life is going to change and your expenses are going to fluctuate over time. You need to always be able to adapt your budget to these changes. All right, hopefully you understand budgets now and how to make one. Let's get into the 5 ways a budget can change your life. First way is you discover money you didn't realize you had. When you first create a budget, you estimate how much money you're spending on certain categories of expenses. As you start to track those expenses in real time throughout your life, you realize how off your estimates may be on these. You may not have realized how much those $10 lunches add up over time, and you also may not have realized that those streaming services you've subscribed to for many years have slowly been increasing their prices over time. Once you start tracking this, you see how much money you're actually spending on these line items and how much money you really have that you could be allocating elsewhere if you're not getting the full value out of those expenses. The second way a budget changes your life is you're much more likely to achieve your financial goals if you keep a budget. For example, if you're saving for a house in the near future, you could have a savings bucket for your home down payment. This money could be a fixed expense of yours that comes away from your income, and all your other expenses have to be working with the remaining money after your fixed expenses. So you're automatically putting money away for your home down payment. It's automatically being saved, and all the rest of your expenses like entertainment and miscellaneous and dining out have to work with any money that's remaining after you've already had your savings taken care of. By knowing how much money you have to play with in your budget, you're able to allocate your dollars towards your goals with confidence and know, hey, maybe I could take a little bit from this. I don't need to spend as much money on entertainment or groceries this month. Then I'm going to go ahead and put that extra money towards a financial goal of mine. Building off of that, the third way is that keeping a budget increases your confidence in your finances. Knowledge is power, and power brings confidence. When you know where your money is and where it's going, you feel much more confident about your financial situation. Aimless spending and constantly worrying if you have enough money to do something will bring you anxiety. But if you have a budget, you don't have to worry about any of that. You know exactly how much money you can spend on something and still be in a good financial position. The fourth way a budget changes your life is it enables you to buy more wants. People think budgets restrict you from buying what you want, but actually the opposite is true. Yes, you do place limits on your spending, but you also give yourself a certain dollar amount that you can spend on certain categories without feeling any guilt. This allows you to go out and buy that fancy new outfit and not have to worry about harming yourself financially, because you know that you're covered in this category by staying within the budget for it, and you're also staying within budget of your other categories and have plenty of money to do what you're doing. That's one of the beauties of budgets. You can still treat yourself, and you'll be more confident when you do treat yourself. The fifth and final way that we're going over today of how a budget will change your life is that it maximizes every dollar's potential. Without a budget, you're much more likely to be wasteful with money. Whether that be mindless spending or dollars just sitting in your account with no use, a budget will give every dollar a job. You'll know how much you're saving, how much you're spending, how much you're allocating towards debt, and how much money you're investing each month. After comparing that with your income, you'll know if you have any dollars that are being put to the wrong use or that are wasting away with no use, and you can then give them a job. Every dollar of yours wants a job, and a budget is how you will give it to them. That does it for today's video on budgets and 5 of the ways that they'll change your life. If you enjoyed this content, please hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. It seriously helps me out so much. Thank you for doing that. Also, if you have any questions or comments or feedback of any sort, please leave them in the comments section below. Or if you'd prefer, you can reach out to me on Twitter or Instagram at MarkPWealth. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you next time.